Hello and welcome to another Microsoft Virtual Academy course. This time we're doing something a little bit different. Instead of talking really about technology, about a specific given product or solution, we're going to talk to you more about our certification exams that relate to those product solutions and services and really get you as prepared as we possibly can to take those certification exams and hopefully join us in the ranks of Microsoft certified. What is it these days? What is the...
My understanding is that it's Microsoft Certified Professional,
okay.
MCP.
I should know that, but I know the titles have changed a couple of times, so it's good to keep up. I would say it's good to keep up on what the title is, but
Indeed.
At the end of the day, you've got a certification. You actually get what we would call a certification from a single exam being passed. So we're here for this, Mastering Microsoft Certification Exam Prep, and we're going to teach you all about them.
That we
I'm
are.
here with...
My name is Tim Warner, and I work as an author and technology evangelist for Pluralsight computer-based technology company, training company. And I've been a Microsoft specialist since 1997. My first MCP, to mention those initials that are still around, was in Windows NT4. And yes, I feel old.
Mine too, actually. Mine was also an NT4.
In short, I'm an IT generalist. I love everything, the entire Microsoft stack. Database, development, Windows, now with Azure, cloud, containers, you name it. And so, like you were saying, Christopher, this training is going to be highly impactful for you regardless of your job role. It doesn't really matter. We're focusing on IT certification skills, period. Mm-hmm. Our agenda consists of 8 modules. This one, very brief, just an introduction to the course. Then we start getting into the so-called meat and potatoes. Understanding Microsoft certification. Going to the Microsoft Learning/Learning Experiences website, and we'll show you exactly the best, most cogent, if you don't mind the $5 word, spots to understand how certification works. In Module 3, we look at what I call the Cert Study Pyramid. More on that later, no point in getting bogged down with it now. But the next 4, 5, and 6 break down each side of that pyramid. Essentially, we have content knowledge, hands-on practical experience, and then test-taking skills. That's really, and I think you'd agree, Christopher, I mean, if you have an imbalance in any of those 3 sides, you're going into your certification exam at a big disadvantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say with some of the things we're going to talk about, the PBT, the performance-based testing, which is a new thing Microsoft Learning has started doing, some of that changes a little bit. Test-taking skills change a little bit when you're actually doing it versus multiple choice, fill in the blank, true, false, questions like that. But it is still, I mean, you're going to need to know time pressures and answering questions, taking the time to read them, answer them correctly while dealing with the fact you're on a clock. So,
right. Yeah,
they all still matter.
Yeah, and in the final 2 modules of the course today, we'll look at Mastering Microsoft Exam Workflow, practical skills and tips for handling just the same things that Christopher just mentioned, time pressure, item types, and then in the final module, Module 8, taking your next steps. Once you earn your first Microsoft certification, where are you going next? A lot of this course is really about figuring out what color's your parachute, if you remember that old term. Okay, so what's expected of you, our learner? There's really just 3 things, and the bar to entry is pretty low, I think. First of all, a willingness to learn how to learn. Yes, there's your willingness to learn the Microsoft technologies, but I think also just as important is the desire to learn how to learn.
No, that makes perfect sense. It's funny, as I saw this, or as you said that, I was thinking to myself, that might actually be the biggest barrier for a lot of people. It's not the willingness to learn. Everybody learns every day, although most people don't necessarily, some people fight learning, but you do. You learn something every day. Learning how to learn is a whole different thing, especially, I'm not in school anymore. I don't need to be taught how to take a test. I know how to do that. I did it for years. That doesn't mean you can't get better at it every day.
Yeah, to be teachable, that's a big point here. Yeah, and as we say, domain knowledge, in other words, actual subject matter knowledge, as we're going to learn, is just 1/3 of the equation.
Well, and these days, I'm going to jump right into the meat and potatoes and say, with content knowledge, I'm sure everybody at this point's heard of Azure. That's going to be an important one. What you're going to have to learn is how to keep up, which we're still working on trying to figure out how to do.
Yeah, well said. I often say, and I believe myself, that in order to be successful and happy in an IT career, you really have to be an eternal student because like you just said, If you're not on top of the game, so to speak, if you're not keeping your knowledge up, you're going to fall behind quickly. What do you need practically to benefit from this course? Just a single decent laptop or desktop computer with an internet connection. The reason why we say decent is because hands-on study is going to require setting up a practice lab. And the most economical way to do that, we submit, is by using, say, Client Hyper-V in your Windows 8.1 or Windows 10 machine. Signing up for an Azure subscription, that's going to require an internet connection. And I think you're going to be impressed that you can do all of this with literally zero monetary investment. I know that might sound too good to be true, but it is true.
We make it pretty simple. We keep the barriers to entry pretty low.
Definitely.
I've had entire running labs. In fact, at this point, now that I am an MCT, a Microsoft Certified Trainer, I have access to our virtual machines. Although even outside of that, when I was still learning, when I was still taking certification exams, I could build out an entire, I would say kind of a mimicking enterprise environment. Multiple hardware servers, running multiple VMs, running Windows Server, SQL, Exchange, Share. I could put them all out there, and they're all free. It's all trial software I can download for 6 months, and as long as I had the hardware and the patience, which sometimes either one of those could be tested, but it's all available.
I mean, rule number one is we do not practice on production equipment. That when you're working, that's not the time to practice.
I would love to say I never did that. I'd love to be able to say that.
I know.
But
Same here.
we may all have been tempted once or twice.
That is absolutely true, right. And finally, basic computer and internet searching skills, using a mouse. I think that if you've made it here to MVA and you're studying with us, you've probably met that expectation just fine. Okay, technology requirements, we've really already mentioned this. We'll be looking at Client Hyper-V as our foundation for building our certification practice lab. That's going to require a compatible Windows client version. So it's going to need to be 8.1 Pro or Enterprise 64-bit, Windows 10 Pro Enterprise or Education 64-bit. And evaluation software is really the name of the game. You could even use Windows 10 evaluation software.
Yep.
You're going to just need, if you don't already have a Microsoft account, have one of those. Your email doesn't have to be a Microsoft-owned domain address. It can be Gmail. It can be whatever. And although Azure does require a credit card to sign up for your trial, they're very clear in their documentation that they're not going to use that for charging. It's just a authenticator, really. They're very friendly, I think, about that, because a lot of people have the fear of signing up for a cloud service and at the end of the month winding up with a big bill that they didn't expect. So the main lessons learned, I think, in this brief introductory module is that our main goal, I think, is simply confidence through knowledge. We want you to complete this MVA experience equipped with a lot more knowledge than you had before about Microsoft certification and practical study skills, and that will give you confidence that will, we believe, carry you through and into IT cert success. How's that?
That's great. I think that's the idea. So come back for the next, well, I would say few modules. There'll be a few.
That's right.
And hopefully we can get you ready.
Yep.